Yeah, it's a good question. What's the best global sales and marketing organization model? Do you tightly control from headquarters, or do you highly federalize? And I get asked this question often. And unfortunately, to people's disappointment, my answer is, well, it depends. It depends on lots of different factors, but one key factor is, what kind of structure do you have to support that sales and marketing organization in the other countries in which you operate? So when I was with IBM had a great country infrastructure. They had a country manager that was responsible for the P&L performance of that country. And I had salespeople in my organization that worked in that country, and they were very effectively managed on many levels by the country organizational infrastructure. Now, they also needed a significant amount of input on value propositions and product information and sales compensation plan approaches and the like from me as the global leader of that of a particular sales and marketing organization. So, but in that case, I was very comfortable highly federalizing the organization, leaving a lot of independence in each country where my people sat. There are other situations where you don't have that kind of structure, and you need to be much more hands-on and treat the people in Spain or in Argentina or in Japan as if they were sitting, me sitting in New York, as if they were sitting in Michigan, and therefore you needed to manage them very tightly and closely, because if you didn't, there was nobody else and no other structure in place that could effectively lead the team. So those are a couple of the factors that come into a decision. Also, though, you could have effective structures inside of other geographies, but you could be managing an organization that has problems, where your sales may be declining or not growing as fast as they should. And in those situations, you need to be much more hands-on, even though you may have a support structure inside of the region or the country in which your employees are operating. So it really depends. And sometimes managing the same organization, one year it may be better to have it highly federalized. And if you start having problems or missing growth objectives, then you need to tighten things back up again. It's watching, observing what the factors are that your people are dealing with, and how you're performing in each market will influence what kind of organization structure you put in place for a global team. Now, there are some people who would say, no, it's always better to federalize. And I would say instinctively, if you can federalize, if you can leave your organization to a certain level of independence within the region, they usually know the customer and the market much better than you can know it sitting back in headquarters in New York. But the circumstances that I discussed earlier can influence how tightly you should manage. There are other people who would say you should always manage it from headquarters. You should be hands-on. You should treat everybody, whatever country they're in around the world, as if they're in Michigan, or right in your backyard in New York, and manage the organization very tightly. And I can say with all certainty that is very often a mistake. It's sometimes required, but it is very often a mistake, and a great way to have an organization you're responsible for underperform versus their potential.